Menscape, the podcast with Carl.J. Ashley.
So, good day, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of the Menscape podcast, sponsored by the Healer's Toolbox, and with the one and only Miss Dee O'Connor. How are you?
And good, Carl, yourself?
Not too bad. It's not every day you get to invite your partner on the Menscape podcast, but here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because when people ask me how you are, I think, well, she helps me, tidy up the place and makes my dinner and stuff. She's wonderful. How could she not be? How could she not be living her best life and been an amazing with the joys of it all? But you do a hell of a lot more than what people might see on social media. You've obviously got a big following on social media, but tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do.
God, where to start? I'm Dee O'Connor. I'm a sound healer, energy healer, coach, tutor, teacher, hypnotherapist. I have so many different badges that I could keep talking for the whole hour on the different labels. But I suppose what I do is I help people become their best self, whatever way that looks.
Okay, so we mentioned the Healer's Toolbox in the intro. That might be the most recent thing. Tell us a little bit about that and we'll work backwards from there.
Okay, the Healer's Toolbox is a project myself and Emma Creed are working on. And it's basically a monthly membership for healers or light workers or coaches, therapists, whatever word you want to put in it, that work with people who need a little bit of help in and around gaining more tools and expanding their knowledge in different techniques to help people get to where they want to go. So I'll give you an example, maybe cutting cords, grounding, some psychic work, energy work. So yeah, it's just helping people step into their power in and around that type of work.
It's not just the practical woo-woo stuff like burning sage and
Is that as well?
And yeah,
there's the energetic woo-woo, the physical woo-woo, and the psychology behind it and the science behind it as well.
Well, so you call it woo-woo and you laugh, but I remember meeting my boss about 10 years ago in a hotel in Limerick, and he said, first question out of his mouth, my now boss, my prospective boss back then, was, he said, what's your magic?
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, so it's a default assumption. We've all got some magic to bring to the table. What is your magic?
Yeah, and the magic is something that we all hide, or we've learned to hide, because it's innate in us. It's a gift, it's a talent, and in mainstream schools it's something that was like hidden. You didn't want to show your cards. So it's interesting.
So the Healer's Toolbox is a fairly recent phenomenon, a fairly new thing, and you're helping holistic therapists out there. But you mentioned also about the hypnotherapy. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so there, I suppose, look, I've had a curiosity about the mind for a long time. I've seen how it affects me, mindset, and I went on a mission to understand it more. So yeah, I was reading books, understanding it from that perspective, even looked at going back to college and doing the 4 years in psychology, but I just couldn't put myself.
19 grand spare, is it?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was like, did I have the time? That's what really, didn't allow me.
19 grand. They said 19 grand, and that won't cover the cost of course materials. You'll have to go out and buy your own notepad and paper because we're not giving it to you. I couldn't believe it. Unless you want to remortgage your house or take out a loan, a massive, massive loan, why would you spend 4 years getting a degree in psychotherapy or counseling when surely to God, the piece of paper matters, okay, but it's practical experience that matters and doing it.
Which is true. And I am meeting more and more people that have gone through the official training, coming out,
Right,
coming into my classes,
right.
studying bioenergy. And I'm meeting a lot of them that are so stuck in their own career and they're not able to help themselves get out of it. And after the 4 years, they're just turfed out. Off you go. You know, they get some training within the industry, and then it's up to them. But a lot of people are coming back to the woo-woo side because they know it works. And interestingly, what I found out was a lot of the woo-woo we do, and I don't normally call it woo-woo, it's just
The
you pick that
woo-woo
word.
we do.
Yeah. A lot of the magic we do is actually got an official word in the colleges, you know? So we acknowledge it on a different level, and they teach it, you know? So um yeah, what was the question originally? Oh,
So
that was it.
I was asking you
I
about
went
the
to,
hypnotherapy stuff. You went back and studied a bit of
I did.
hypnotherapy in that, yeah?
I did. I went back and I studied with Marissa Peer, and Marissa Peer is well known for her rapid transformational therapy, which includes the psychotherapy, NLP, God, what else? Hypnotherapy, regression. There's a long list. She's studied and she's taken the best out of it and created her own modality. So after studying that, I can work with anyone. And you know me well, Carl, I can turn my hand to mostly anything. And I had to actually sit back, and it took me a while to find my niche, as in who did I want to help. And it is the me's in the world. It is the holistic therapists, the coaches, the people that are doing the healing work, the healers that have the gift and talent, but have their own wounds sitting in the background that are festering, that are not allowing them step into their power, step into who they want to be, to find the people they want to serve. So like for me, there was I'm not good enough. You know, the it's not good enough, it's not perfect, I can't put this out in the world, what will other people say? And it's a lot of that. And what used to happen is I used to just write, there's an amazing workshop I'm creating, I'm going to just put it here and I'll do it next month. Next month came, I didn't do it. Oh, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next month.
Ah, yes.
And next month,
Procrastination is the
yeah,
enemy
they'll
of
talk.
every writer too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it was overcoming that and putting in structures in place so I didn't keep procrastinating, and starting out why, going down back to the root cause about why I was procrastinating, why I didn't feel good enough, why I was self-sabotaging myself. And then I was able to step forward, do the sound healing, stand in my power to know that I am actually a good sound healer and I can do this to the best of my ability, and I actually change people's lives. And then to do that on different levels with the bioenergy therapy
Hold
and
on,
and
hold on, hold on.
yeah.
We'll get to the bioenergy and we'll get to the sound in a minute. But with the hypnotherapy, what you're saying is what you learned through the Marissa stuff was that there are subconscious programs that effectively run our behavior. And unless we bring them into the conscious awareness, they can derail us from our conscious purpose. So everything you're saying smacks of the wounded healer archetype, which we'll come back to later. That's Jungian kind of psychology, where you've got these archetypes, and they come up in the tarot as well. So people are familiar with those in the woo-woo world as well. But the subconscious programming you're saying can be, I'm not good enough, I am not perfect,
Yeah, so
I don't
basically,
want this or this. List them off for me there, and let's see how many we've got.
so look, you can bring it back down to three core beliefs.
Okay.
I'm not good enough. It's not available to me. I'm different, so I can't connect. They're the three basic beliefs that we create from our experiences. So when I say experiences, I'm talking about from childhood, from even in the womb till about 8, 10. So we experience life, something happens, we react to it, and we create a belief around that. That belief then becomes the blueprint to the rest of our life.
And so that's running in the background in the subconscious. And then consciously, we become an adult. We might be in our 30s or 40s, and we say, right, I wouldn't mind actually having a multi-million online business where I can work from home, serve people all around the world, make shitloads of money to finance travel, and being able to help people and have my best life. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't quite work out. And you're like, oh, right, so what's going wrong here? I need to book in with Dee, do a deep dive, and you'll uncover or recover through the hypnotherapy process some of these unconscious programs that are running that we created in childhood to survive that we're not consciously aware of in adulthood.
Yes, you've read well.
Yeah, quite interesting stuff. It's like we have the ability as divine beings to create and manifest our reality. The universe is like a cosmic order delivery service, and it took me all my life to learn it, where you are entitled to manifest your heart's desire, as long as it's wholesome, as long as it's good. If you want to go around doing bad things, I don't think it works so well, although there's plenty of those kind of people as well.
Yeah, and I suppose it's their belief. I mean, I suppose whether you see, the universe doesn't care if the mind doesn't care if it's right, wrong, good, or bad. Okay, so it's you will manifest whatever you tell your mind that you want.
So
Okay,
this comes into the work, like with some of my clients on the Right Coach side. We do a lot of work around affirmations because it's powerful to program the subconscious this way. So if you say, don't worry, the subconscious doesn't hear the word don't, it just hears worry. So it's like you're thinking you might be employing a positive mantra or something that's going to benefit you. But if you're not trained in some way or educated in some way as to how to program the subconscious mind, it can actually contribute towards derailing you from these purposes.
Yeah, so when I'm working with people and we're doing the positive reinforcement, it is positive. There's no negative in there. So I'll sit down, I'll have worked with them maybe the day before. I know what's coming up for them, and I will have a few key sentences wrote down for me to, in a positive way, because people are like, I want to lose weight. I don't want to procrastinate, but it's like, what's the positive? What do you actually want? And it's about programming that into the mind. As you said, the mind doesn't hear the negative words. They just hear the context. It picks up the pictures. So it's like, I don't want to, let's say you're afraid of heights, and it's like, well, I want to go up onto the heights. I don't want the fear. Like, it's the fear that's going to keep coming into you. Am I explaining it right?
No, because I was halfway across the bridge over there in Kanchanaburi, and I'm looking down, and I'm on this tiny little rope bridge, and my legs fucking shaking like this. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. How did that start happening? And all these people are walking down up in front of me and behind me. So it's not a rational reaction, because the rational mind is telling me people are walking up and down this bridge. It's safe. So I can see that it's safe.
Yeah.
The physical act of being halfway across the bridge up high and seeing the river below through the rope just tapped into something kind of deep, archetypal and subconscious in me. And this fear of heights came out of nowhere. I think they call it vertigo or something. Thankfully, it wasn't debilitating. I didn't have to get down on the floor and start crawling across the bridge. I just took a few deep breaths and carried on. But the awareness was there. This is totally irrational.
Yeah, and when it comes to, and that's, look, you remember the picture of an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is about 10-20% of the whole thing that's above the water. That other 80-90% underneath the water is your subconscious mind, and that's where all your memories, all your experiences, everything that you've experienced is held under that. So this little 10-20% on the top is the active logical thinking software. Underneath is what runs it all, and underneath the bottom part of the iceberg can totally control the top part. So you are run by your past experiences, your past beliefs, all of that comes in. So if there was any experience at all, even in your past generations, you know, it can come down multi-generational in through your DNA, this fear of heights, because like fear of heights is probably something that's very natural. You know, when you're off running off like a Stone Age man after your animal.
They say you're born with two fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. And they're very much a survival mechanism.
And on
Everything
a
else is a
height,
learned fear, they say.
if you're up on a height, what's the fear? It's the fear of falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very natural. And it's about overcoming that, you know? And that takes work and practice. And you're basically looking for the proof that I can walk across this bridge. I've done it before, I can do it again.
Okay. So moving on, you mentioned you touched on the Bioenergy School of Ireland. Tell us a bit about that.
So I learned bioenergy therapy back in 2011, 2012 from Michael O'Doherty in Ennis. And I spent a year with him there and I practiced. And then in 2016, I think it was, I set up the Bioenergy School of Ireland. And I have been teaching bioenergy therapy to people all around Munster. So you're looking at Limerick, Tipperary, and Cork are my main hubs. And it cycles around that. I might do 2 or 3 classes a year. And it's literally bioenergy is working with the energy field of the body, the aura, the chakras, the meridian lines, finding stagnation in the body and removing that with different hand techniques and bringing the body back into balance, bringing the energy back into balance, brings the body back into balance.
So for those people that don't know, I'm not an expert on this by any stretch, but I read up some stuff on Rudolf Steiner, and he said that he literally listed 6 or 7 bodies: your physical body, your ethereal body, your astral body, your spiritual body,
your emotional body.
These different layers and levels of the body. So we're all walking around. We're like multidimensional beings. We fall asleep every night. We astral travel. Like you say, we've got this iceberg of subconscious programming going on. The human psyche is presumably a lot more intricate and fathomable than we've been led to believe. Like, let's try and keep things as simple as possible is always a good idea, but we are quite deep and complex by nature, one might say. So what have you learned, and what's at the core of your teachings with bioenergy? Is it something you can see? Does it revolve around what people believe, like the placebo effect? When I learned about that, I was blown away. That was hugely, like, I think the context I came across placebo was studying schizophrenia. They gave full clinical trials and said 33% of diagnosed schizophrenics were cured with a sugar pill and told this will make you better.
Yeah, so right there, that's what I was just going to say. You're touching back on the programming. You know, the placebo, all of that is in and around programming the mind. Is
that not bioenergy then? Bioenergy is something else.
It's another, it can be another level, let's put it that way. So bioenergy, like the placebo affects the mind and the belief of the mind. And the mind is so powerful, it can actually create anything and change anything, okay? So thoughts are vibration, okay? Thoughts are frequency. So you're touching in on the energy system.
Now you're talking.
So they are all interconnected. And I suppose that's where my curiosity comes from anyway. But with the bioenergy, we are using our hands. See, is it something you can see? Yes, I can teach you to see the energy. Give me 2 hours, I can guarantee I'll teach you how to see energy. Even less. But 2 hours is normally everyone that I meet, I can actually teach them physically to see the energy, to feel it around the same amount of time. Some people might never see it. Some people will feel it more, but we can play with that. And that's normally my first weekend in the bioenergy course, is teach people to feel it and to see it and to work with it. What have I learned? You asked me. It's the interconnectedness and the holistic nature. So I'm talking about bioenergy, but actually I am tapping in on the mind, the body, the spirit, the emotional bodies as well. So we can't just take one item and work with that. We have to look at the whole holistic picture. And I suppose within my teachings, we go into the emotional association a lot of the time because, I can't really say it out loud, but at least 90% of what we perceive, emotions and feelings, are not ours. We are picking up on other people's stuff.
Right.
And most, if not all, diseases are created from emotion, which is what they call stress. So if I am pushing down what we class as a negative emotion, whether it's anger or grief or any one of those emotions, and we're locking it into the tissue of the body, we're creating a stagnation in the flow. So energy.
What we all do as children. We're taught to walk and talk, and then we're told to sit down and shut the fuck up. So you learn to suppress rather than repress. Mummy doesn't like angry little boys, for example.
Yeah.
And unless you're able to unblock and allow the energy to flow, was it Eckhart Tolle that coined the phrase the pain body? The body kind of holds and traps that emotional pain. And unless it's released through maybe somatic practices or shamanic practices, or I mean, there's a lot of different healing modalities, right?
Once they're working with the emotion, working with the energy. Yeah. So I mean, you've mentioned the different layers of energy.
So you're like a psychic plumber, is it? You're going around.
Look, you see my lady here, like. Do you see my little lady here?
Yeah.
So I mean, look at the different layers there. They're all different layers of energy, yeah. So like the stuck can happen out here on the red, and it'll move slowly in towards the actual physical being. So it can land in the emotional body or the pain body or any of those bodies that you mentioned, the layers of energy. And it's about going in there, moving off that stuck energy. And it's better to do it while it's in the energy form, because once it comes into the physical, you're looking at it being a disease, not just a dis-ease in the energy system.
And that leads us perfectly into your role as a sound healer and working with sound energy, because I, as someone that's done a lot of different healing modalities, done a lot of work on myself, I was blown away by the first time I came to a sound bath and the experience that I had. How long are you at that? And tell us a bit about that.
I am at the sound healing about 10, 11 years now. So I suppose I used to facilitate a class which was chakra dance, and it was me working with a speaker. And I remember I was in Thurles. I had 14 women behind me, and the next thing is the sound came out of the speaker, hit me in the solar plex. I was going to get sick. Like, it was that physical. And I was like, I went off and I spoke to the people that created the music, and I was like, what is that sound? They told me it was a Tibetan bowl, but I now know it was a crystal bowl. Hit my solar plex, and whatever it shifted in me, it was so real. I was like, right, I need to know more about how sound affects the body. And that was my journey. After that, I met a friend of mine who said, oh, I know someone who's just training in the Tibetan bowls, and they're looking for case studies. And I remember, I know, talk about timing. I lit down on her couch on the treatment bed, and she's moving the bowls around me. And every time it came up over my wrist, the bowl sounded nice, and then, and then nice again. And I had repetitive strain in my wrist, and the bowl was able to pick up on the pain. Now, the girl using it was like, I don't know what's wrong with the bowl. And I'm laughing, saying, yeah, the bowl's talking to you. I could actually hear what the bowl was saying. And after that, I was like, right, I want to learn this. And I went off and I did my training with a lady called Patricia Lohan, who we were her last students, myself and another girl. And that was it. Hooked ever since.
Okay, so tying it in with the bioenergy school stuff we were talking about, right? So what you're saying is everything is energy. Energy is vibration. Sound is obviously one kind of vibration. Like we hear it, we feel it. But what you're saying is the ball was picking up pain in your wrist. So
which is another.
there was a physical manifestation of some energy block, and that had a corresponding sound. So the sound related to the physical.
Yes. So you as a human being with a body, with an energy field, you have your own frequency. Me and you have different frequencies. We all have our own unique optimal frequency, okay? So every part of your body has as well. The pain, and this is with all energy healing and all healing, when there's pain, it's either there's a lack of energy or an over energy, under energy or an over energy. What I experienced in my wrist was an over energy. It made the sound of the bowl express really loud. So the vibration was high, so it came through the bowl.
Fever is an excess of heat, and shivers is an absence of it.
Yes, same principle.
Illness manifests as heat or shivers.
Yeah, so an over energy or an under energy. So if that ailment in my wrist was a lack of energy, when I went over it with the sound should have went down. But it didn't. It went up because the pain was at a higher frequency, higher vibration.
Right. So what did you do about it?
Well, I just went and learned about it. But what you can do is you can take out the excessive energy, whether you do it with your hands, through bioenergy, or through the bowls. There's techniques that you can learn to help you remove that energy. And then you can let it off, because once energy has been unstuck, it just flows.
So before we move into a kind of a quick fire round, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in coming to a sound healing journey, checking you out on the Bioenergy School of Ireland, or consulting you for hypnotherapy reading and such like that we've discussed already? Maybe even check out the Healer's Toolbox if they're a holistic therapist that's interested in that.
Yeah, so you've got the healerstoolbox.com. You have deeoconnor.com. So that's deeoconnor.com. Or you'll find me on Facebook. Dee O'Connor Sound will normally find me. You'll find a redhead there.
Yeah. And to be honest, I know you've helped me immensely, not just editing these videos for the Menscape podcast audience, initially the gents in the Menscape group, but then beyond that. And then also doing some social media marketing through Facebook for the Right Coach page, and helping me grow a worldwide database of clients on the Right Coach side of things, which leads me nicely into our quick fire round. Have you ever written a book?
Have I ever written a book? Well, yes.
Very good. Have you ever jumped out of a plane?
Have I ever jumped out of a plane? No.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yes.
Driven a Ferrari?
No.
Had children?
No.
Eaten an insect?
Yes.
Walked on hot coals?
No.
Done public speaking?
Yes.
Have you ever been abducted by aliens?
Not that I know of.
And have you ever cheated death?
Have I ever? Yes.
Very good. So what are your favorite books, and which would you recommend and why? Any books that have changed your life that jump out? Apart from mine, of course, which I'm sure you've all read cover to cover and can recite.
Yes. Yes, yours, of course. Yes.
No,
yes.
no, sweetheart. No need to plumose the writer here. Any favorite books jumping out at you?
Look, I can give you a few books. There's the first book that actually changed my life was The Secret. Like, I probably wouldn't even rate it now, but when I was just waking up and just waking up to another world, The Secret was really popular. So you read the book, you watched the movie, you went out, you looked up at the sky and you asked for a shooting star, and there it was. And I was like, whoa.
I don't remember the movie, but I remember the book coming out. I think Rhonda Byrne was the author, and she said, visualize the checks coming in the post. But all that was coming in the post was fucking bills. And I said, hang on a minute, is there something wrong here? And then I wrote down on a little piece of notepaper that I wanted, I think it was 50 grand, 50K. And it wasn't just that I wanted to manifest the 50 grand. It was, here was what I was going to spend 50 grand on. So there was my list. There was my amount and there was my list. And I swear to God, although I didn't have the skill maybe to really see it at the time, unfortunately, me, my ex-wife, and my eldest daughter were involved in an accident where we were rear-ended by a guard, a squad car, and no word of a lie, when the compensation came through and we totted it up, it wasn't far off exactly 50,000, something like 16 and a half each for the 2 adults and about 18 for the child. And I was blown away. Did I manifest 50 grand? And if so, did I endanger the lives of my family? Like, I didn't ask for it to come that way, but thankfully we were all still walking and talking. So there was no, but it is powerful stuff, right?
It is. It is. And I mean, look, there's been more updates and information in and around how to skillfully manifest. So yeah, that was the first book that actually stood to me. The second one, and I know I've actually had you read it, is Who Ate My Cheese? Is that the name of it? Yeah.
Who moved my cheese?
Yeah, maybe it's Moved.
Who Moved My Cheese, I think.
Was it? Yeah, I'm not sure, but an amazing little book.
Yeah.
And yeah, the usual one, The 4 Agreements, is another one. And will I tell you my newest ones?
Don't take things personally.
Yes.
Always be the best.
Don't make assumptions
that you can be.
Yeah.
Be impeccable with your word.
That's it. And don't make assumptions.
And do your best not to make any assumptions. Yeah, The 4 Agreements was massive for me.
Yeah.
Don Miguel. And you're going to tell us more.
Yeah, my current book, you'll love it. David Icke, The Dream, mind blowing.
Icke, right?
Yeah.
So you must be
interestingly,
you must be one of these weird conspiracy theorists, is it?
What you know what's really interesting is how he brings in the chakras, how he brings in manifestation, how he brings in the whole matrix that is the universe, and yeah. Wow.
There's a fairly good reason why he's been blocked, deleted, and banned for the last 30 years. And that's because there's certain vested interests don't want his message getting out to as widespread an audience as possible. I came across a David Icke book around 2009, something like 9/11 is an inside job or something like that. And it totally blew my mind. Like, at the time, we had Nokia phones with Snake on it. You know, you can't even begin to conceive of the world 15 years ago, even compared to what we have now. And this was almost revolutionary, what he was saying, but there wasn't any doubt in my mind that what he was saying wasn't true. This is one of the original truthers. And like I say, he's been blocked, deleted, banned, deplatformed, you name it. And at the end of the day, his message is, we're all one, we are love.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever the mainstream media is telling you, do not comply, do not obey. If the government says this is good for your health, do the fucking opposite, mate. You know? And it's like his message is, I think he must have written 28, 29 books now at this stage.
I don't know. I've only ever I've listened to his last 2 books, because you're talking about 18 hours a book. You know, it's a massive commitment. And to read that, I don't think I would. So thankfully it is on audio, and it's like, yeah, he's blown my mind, looking at life in a completely different way, through the spiritual way, what we are, who we are, what we're doing here. Yeah, it's an absolute eye-opener. And
So the most recent David Icke book is called
The Dream.
The Dream.
Or so Dream, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else come to mind? Any favorite movies or any favorite songs that come to mind?
No, No.
No.
Movies, I'm not really a movie person. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah. Um, Trying to think. No.
Well, that keeps the favorite movies and songs a little bit. That keeps it down short.
Yeah.
Miss O'Connor, next question for you is: what was your best trip abroad and why? Any favorite destinations abroad?
Um, Normally when I go abroad, I go and live there. So I lived in Amsterdam for about 9 or 10 years. Absolutely loved that.
Quite long as a trip, though. You didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Trip. I suppose Turkey was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Ephesus. Is it Ephesus? Yeah, Ephesus, the old ancient site. I mean,
Yeah.
that was really cool. I mean, to
Turkey's
think they
quite
had.
unique in that it kind of straddles Europe and Asia, and
Mm.
have a hodgepodge, a melting pot of cultures and ways. What I loved about Turkey was they played backgammon on the street. They just have like a backgammon board on a wall, and there'd be people playing. It's like, we love this game so much, we're just going to play anywhere. It was just fantastic. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the God in Istanbul, the amount of people. Just, I remember we were going down the street on a Sunday, and like these streets were big, but like it was just heads everywhere. There was no space to walk down the street. It was crazy. Yeah, yeah.
So Turkey obviously held some memories for you. Tell us a bit more about Amsterdam then.
Amsterdam, I went there. Do you know what? I went to Dublin. I went to a Pearl Jam concert and flew to Amsterdam the next day. So, yeah, I lived there. I worked in an Irish bar, O'Reilly's Irish Bar, in the main square, Dam Square, for a year or so, maybe a bit longer. Eventually, I ended up working in coffee shops, the famous Hill Street Blues coffee shop, and God, I was there for years in that job, and it was like a little community of Irish, English, American, English speaking people, say, with a few Dutch sprinkled in, and everyone knew each other in this mad big city. It was like a little village attitude where everyone had each other's back. So yeah, it was pretty special when I was there.
My abiding memory of the Hull University prospectus when I was 18, 19 and looking for somewhere to go and study psychology and philosophy was just a full page splash saying ferry to Amsterdam, £39. And I was already a committed stoner at that age anyway, fairly young to be a stoner, I know, but as it happened, I never got into Hull. I ended up going to Leeds, and I never went to Amsterdam. We could have met 20 years before we did,
Oh,
maybe.
there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, imagine. But I lost the pull of places like I'm very much like a woman in that I rely on my intuition and how I feel. And I recently been feeling the pull of Japan, and then I was feeling India, and then it's like places like Peru and Iceland, something magical about
Hmm.
Iceland and the aurora and all that. So I think travel and foreign travel is always somewhere that I had a passion for, but only really Sri Lanka and Thailand were long haul places. Have you been anywhere long haul? Have you been to like Australia or America or what have you?
No, my aim was Australia, but the girl I went traveling with, we got stuck in Amsterdam. She ended
As
up
you do.
falling in love, getting pregnant, and we were there. But yeah, my both of my brothers planned to go to Australia, and both of them passed away within 2 weeks of going to Australia. So I put Australia on pause.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I suppose I can't let you go further without asking you a bit more about that, because I know you don't really want to go in. Well, you can go into it as much or as little as you like, but you've had quite a difficult personal journey with family bereavement and stuff like that. And that comes back to what we were saying about the wounded healer archetype. So if you want to talk a bit about that, feel free to do so.
Well, I mean, I suppose when I was 8, my dad died, leaving my mother and myself, my 2 younger brothers. My youngest brother was 6 months, and she worked and got us through to adults, I suppose.
Yeah.
My 2 brothers died within 10 months of each other in separate accidents. One fell off a balcony and the other in a motorbike accident. And I suppose that's what brought me back home to Ireland, because at that stage I was still living in Amsterdam. So I came back home to Ireland and just, to be here. Became a hotel manager, worked as a hotel manager. And then 10 years after my return, my mother was diagnosed with cancer and passed away with cancer as well. So yeah, full family wipeout, and yeah, it can challenge you. But what it did for me was I had a choice. I had a choice to either roll in the corner and disappear, or to actually do something different. And yeah, there was a load of anger, there was a load of frustration there.
Surely, why me? You know what we were saying about the 4 agreements and taking it personal. It's like, well, there was why me? There
was the why me in 2 ways. There was the why me, am I left behind? Fuck it, kind of a thing. But there was also the why me, am I left behind? Do I have a mission? Do I have something to do?
Yeah.
And as you asked me, did I escape death? I mean, yeah, I have 2 memories that, knowingly I could have been wiped out. And actually, one was a week before my mother passed. A little bit of chicken went with my breath, got caught in my throat, and there was no breath at all. And I had an elderly aunt with me. And for some reason, I was able to get some air in through my nose down to get underneath whatever that was lodged. And I was able to get it out. But it could have been a full family wipeout, So all of that, I suppose, pushed me towards stepping into the healing work, knowing there's more to life. There's something there. What the hell am I doing here? And moving on from that experience and yeah.
I think even if life was meaningless, we'd still like to create there to be some meaning. And if you've survived watching all of your family pass away, nobody more than you, I guess, would have an insight into waking up in the morning with a burning sense of purpose, and fuck, why was I not taken? What am I here to do? And it's it
could have went either way.
Yeah, but it's like you are an amazing person. You are an amazing being. I know I'm a bit biased because you make me the odd Irish stew, and that's amazing too. But at the same time, it's easy to see from what you do and the work you do and the clients you do, that you've created a version of yourself that can help other people be better versions of themselves. And there's no greater compliment to you that you're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to blow a bit of smoke up your hole every now and again as well, don't I? Huh?
Yeah.
No. And so before we move on, was there any did you have some involvement in a crystal business, buying and selling crystals, and before we move on from the woo-woo stuff altogether?
Yes, I did. I love my crystals, and we had Stoneaholic. Yes, it's still in the background. A lovely hacker came along and hacked the website, but yeah, there's crystals and crystal jewelry around.
What's that? Not a belter.
The Merkaba from give me the word. It's gone. Russia. Yes, Shungite. That's it. Shungite. Yes.
The Russian Republic of Kerala.
Yeah.
On the border with Finland. Is it
Mm-hmm.
Carolan? And
Not too sure.
yeah, and so do you find working with crystals ties in with the bioenergy stuff and unblocking the flow of energy in the body and working with the chakras and stuff like that?
Yeah, I suppose, do you know what? I know some people are really, really sensitive to the energies of crystals.
Right.
I could walk into a room covered in amethyst and I'd be like, yeah, this is nice. I like this. But it's not like, whoa, where, some people are highly in tuned to that. But I do know the crystals carry their own energy. I will use the shungite, and I use crystals that I'm attracted to, but do I actually physically feel the energy? No, but I often think maybe I'm so attuned to energy from everything, like everything is energy, everything has a vibration. Um,
That's
so
interesting. I
yeah, like,
I have no idea how it happened, but there was I was in the British Embassy
mm,
back with a guy I used to work with, an IT company in Limerick around 2012, 2013. And we happened to be there on a business arrangement. We met them at a fair in Cork and they'd invited us up there. And we went in through the door, literally a steel door with, if you can imagine, it was probably the most potentially bombed building in the island of Ireland at one point, and you could see they still had that, but it'd been converted into a kind of a place where they were having business meetings. And I sat in there and I couldn't breathe. I could not breathe. The room we were in had windows, but they didn't open them.
mm,
And there was no glass of water. And whatever I was picking up on in that room, it was only when I got out afterwards and I realized they probably were torturing people in there or doing that waterboarding or suffocating or whatever would have been going on when you had the times where, there would have been MI5 and Secret Service and arrests made and all this kind of stuff and the IRA and stuff in the 80s and the 90s. And I was told I was either quite mystic or quite psychic or both, or if they're not the same thing. But I wasn't prepared ever really for just sitting there in a room at a desk with a guy next to me and two people across from me, and all of a sudden feeling like I couldn't breathe, like someone had their hand on my throat, and that I was either going to run out if somebody didn't pass me a glass of water or open the window. And I looked at him and I'm like, did you feel that? And he's like, what?
yeah.
He didn't feel a thing. It was just me. So whatever residual energy I was picking up on in that room led me to, I suppose, have an insight into that. If you don't have some mastery over your sensitivities, you can very well go into places and pick up psychically on the energy of the things and the people and what happened in those places. And in some way, crystals, they're like a physical manifestation of a spiritual energy as well. I don't know what role the crystals played, but after I'd had kind of an emotional breakdown after my dad died and my marriage broke up, and I was going through a phase of just crying and crying, even before that, I'd be in a place where there'd be crystals and I'd just be drawn to one and I'd pick it up and it'd be like, okay, now it's time to put it down. And it's like, I'm coming with you. And like, to begin with, they were only a $5, so it wasn't so bad. But then once they started crystals that cost significantly more than that, but it's like, so right. So all the money I used to spend on, tobacco and alcohol, other unhealthy and unproductive things. So what if I want to spend them on crystals?
Yeah. And I'm going to go back there to your sitting in that office space, because like that ties back to what I was speaking to in and around the hypnotherapy work and our wounds. Like you're sitting there and you're sensing all of that. So that is an empathic element of you coming up. But that is something that has come from, and I'm not saying it's coming from your childhood, but it is something that we learn. It's a coping mechanism that most empaths learn from their childhood because they've needed to understand, am I safe here? Do I need to change something? Do I need to please someone to get what I need, to get my needs fulfilled, or to be safe? So we walk into a room and we're reading the room, and all of this happens in the bottom part of the iceberg. It's all subconscious.
Yeah.
We walk in, we scan the room, we're like, okay, that one's lovely over there, bit dodgy, that one over there. Or we're reading the energy of the room, because if something happens in a room, that energetic imprint is put into the building, it's put into the land. So as walking into that space, we have got that capacity to read that. And it is, as I said, it's natural for us to read it because we need to be safe.
But this was long before I had any awareness around.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we do it naturally. Yeah. And this is where it can go one of two ways. We can use it as a talent, a gift. But that's when we learn how to master it. And that's where the self-mastery comes in, yeah? It is about, if we don't learn how to master our gifts and talents, i.e. in this situation, the empathy, being an empath, we can go around like what you were doing, picking that up, bringing that into your body and carrying that energy, you know? And being hypersensitive to everything, you know, driving down the street and feeling a wave of energy coming over you and feeling, right, I don't feel comfortable here. I feel sick. And maybe something you're picking up from 100 years ago or longer. And it's about learning that muscle. If I am one of these people, how do I actually manage this? And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you have to learn to manage it and use it for your own good and the good of others. But yeah, that's a part of the hypnotherapy work that I do as well. So it comes through all the different work I do.
I guess one of the core things that I've had to overcome is this lack of self-love that was rooted in some childhood experiences or rooted in some experiences that happened when I was too young to really know what was going on. And underpinning the addictions, like my life was a litany of, you know, wake up, skin up, go to bed, skin up all day in between, go to the pub, have the pints, play darts, play pool. You know, I used to do a lot of going to nightclubs and taking E and acid and amphetamines and stuff. Thankfully, never really went too far or too hard with it to the point where I completely self-destructed, but I certainly would have had a lot of issues with addictions. And it was only once I stopped drinking in a committed way in 2012 when I started writing my first book, which started out as like an addiction diary. And I stopped smoking as well. I've been smoking for 25 years, drinking for 25 years. And all of a sudden it was like this haze lifted. And all of a sudden I could remember things. I was remembering people, I was remembering places, I was remembering jobs I'd had. And the more I remembered, the more I wrote down. And the more I wrote down, the more I remembered. And the more I remembered, the more I wrote down. And it just kept, it was like a snowball just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can see very much now, if I had a natural inclination towards being an empath and picking up on energies and being psychic, no wonder I fucking went to the pub to drink just to block all of that out. But thankfully, you know, I managed to pull myself back from going down a path of complete self-destruction. But I do feel a strong sense of sympathy for people who do, and it would have run in the family dynamic quite a lot where I can see the patterns. And it's almost like we're destined to relive those patterns of our parents if we don't bring them into the conscious awareness to change them.
So you can look at that in a few different ways, right? Because most people that have addictions have huge gifts and talents within the empathic, within the energy, within the psychic arena, okay? So the being aware of other energies, being aware of entities, being aware of the otherworldly stuff is things that, one, you're taught you're mad, two, it's like something you don't want to tell the next door neighbor or your family, yeah? And it's about, let's cover it up. Okay, how do I actually cover it up? It's about distracting yourself, filling that hungry ghost, yeah?
Yeah.
Putting the food in, the alcohol, the sex, the drugs, the gambling, whatever that is that can distract you from your reality. Exactly. But all of these are tools
Double
that
Black
people
Forest
use.
ghetto.
But they're all
Dripping with
tools.
cherry and chocolate. It's like, all right, so I gave up smoking, I gave up drinking, I gave up watching porn, I gave up all these unhealthy behavior patterns, but you put a nice big Black Forest gatto in front of me now. I don't feel like I gave up addictions. I just replaced it with sugar, you know.
Okay, we'll replace it with water next. But but you see, the food again has a chemical in it, which is highly addictive. It is sugar. It's more addictive than heroin, and it deadens. It actually connects in with the happy hormone, whatever those things are called, where they plug in.
Oxytocin.
Yes. So it's triggering that in you, and it's distracting you from all of that other stuff, and it's deadening your awarenesses, you know? So plus, I mean, when you started to become, your awareness comes from your empathic, which comes from the space of you needing to know you're safe. Okay. What did our parents give us to soothe us? Here's a lollipop, stick it in your mouth and be quiet. It's food that was normally given to the child.
And that's if you were lucky.
Yeah.
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 Otherwise,
I mean, like, I remember being a
spoon. There's another belt there if you don't shut up, you know.
And that's where the danger comes in. But if you were given something that actually soothed you, it was something sweet or something you would remember. They're not going to give you a carrot or a celery stick, you know? So it's quite interesting how all of these things come about. And again, it comes from, it's all a mad circle. It comes around the energy work, the psychology of it, the childhood, how you present as an adult. It's all cycles, patterns. The matrix.
Before I finish up with a 1-minute quick fire round, I'm going to ask you about your glitch in the matrix story. I won't bore you with the details of mine, but suffice it to say, something happened that had me doubting the reality of this dimension. And I'm pretty confident everyone at some point or another will have had a similar experience. It wasn't unique to me. And in the movie The Matrix, your man sees a deja vu with a black cat. And they say, what? You saw it? Oh, that's a glitch. Shit, we got to get out of here, right? This idea, again, coming back to David Icke, that we're living in a software program, that there's a hologram. Have you a glitch in the matrix story that maybe made you challenge the reality with which you were confronted? Other than all your family passing away, I mean, yeah.
I mean, look, I probably have a few. I mean, when you say glitch in the matrix, like one of the things that come to mind was actually walking into a room, seeing someone else walking into the room, and time actually slowed down. And it was like someone pressed pause and it was slow motion. Really, really weird.
When did that happen?
That would have happened 2000 and I don't know, 16.
Oh, this was when you had a life before you met me.
I know.
And there was me thinking you'd only really existed since
Oh, there's another glitch. How about the glitch?
You?
How about the glitch in the Matrix that came in as a dream of a sage boy coming into my life? Yeah. And then the man that sells sage walks into my life a couple of months later.
I think you just manifested a tea boy to go meet
you.
Really. I get occasional fringe benefits, is it? Making the tea, like the Irish stew. I know. We laugh about it and we make a joke of it, but it's huge when you meet someone in your life that's coming from the same vibration of this kind of wounded healer energy, someone who's done the work on themselves, someone that's been through what was described to me as the dark night of the soul, and you can enter into a relationship where there's love, but it stems from self-love, and it's genuine, and it stems from a desire to be the best version of yourself and to be of service to others, not just about service to self, but service to others from being the best version of yourself you can be. I mean, that's huge, really. We don't really give ourselves enough credit for that, I suppose, but nor do we need to. Just the awareness of it is enough. But I suppose it's worth noting and saying it's like a privilege and an honor, really, to be able to experience being in a relationship with someone where there's independence, there's interdependence, and then we can still come together as a couple and do things. And you're helping me this week with a Right Coach event, right, where we're going to talk about overcoming procrastination. There's lots of people out there have an amazing story to tell, like yourself, and they want to be able to put it into a book, and then these blocks come up. So it's very much, and so it's something we're ideally suited and positioned to be able to talk about to help people. But coming back to the glitch in the matrix, so it was like time slowed down in a room, and you're not in a dream, you're not fast asleep. Actually, so you notice something up.
Yeah, it was like I was tripping. It was literally, I'm walking in a door, this gentleman is walking up a corridor, and like time just slowed down. And it was just the bizarrest thing. Yeah, it stood out to me. But like, even when you were talking there, it's like, do you know what? I think I experience the glitch in the matrix every couple of days anyway. It's like, if I think of, say if I'm expecting something and I haven't seen a letter from these people in a long time, or an email, and it's like, I'll think of that person or that email or that company, and the next day that email will be sitting there, or that letter. And it's like, what am I able to tune into? There's,
I think that's
a glitch
in the matrix. That's just psychic awareness.
No, but no, that's not like a glitch. Like, you're saying it's just psychic, but is that not a glitch?
Well, I come back to one of my clients. Hi to Lisa, if she's watching us. And I call her Pink Car Lady, because she wrote about manifesting a pink car and said, if
my pink pineapple,
if I'm on the right path, universe, show me a pink car. And sure enough, there it was. And it's like, well, did you just manifest that, or is that a sign from outside of yourself? And so you need that validation, say, yeah, actually, I am on the right path. All these things are going pear-shaped in my life, but it's actually helping me metamorphose into the next version of myself I need to be on, the next step of the journey, this transition or this transmutation. Yeah. This is what we're meant to do. We're meant to evolve. Right?
Or it's like me driving home the other day, and every time I looked at either the clock or the mileage or the speed, it was 111, 222, 333. It was one of those multiple numbers. And I just laugh now. It's like, yeah, the matrix, the universe is having a little giggle to me, Yeah, I'm on the right path. But it's like, whoa, yeah, we're in a matrix.
So who created the matrix and why?
I have no idea.
Well, this is where we get you to become a philosophy student. You can't have these awarenesses and not ask these questions.
How about, how can I use that matrix, or that knowledge that I'm in a matrix, or for the betterment of me and everyone else? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah. So Aldi or Lidl?
What did you say?
Aldi or Lidl?
Aldi or Lidl? I do Aldi and Lidl. Depends on the food I'm looking for.
Oh God, it's a one-word answer.
Yeah, both.
England or Germany?
I was going to go Germany. I'll go Holland.
Sunset or sunrise?
Oh, sunset.
Blonde or brunette?
Redhead.
Deirdre, you're not answering the questions. This is you. Yeah. Manchester or Liverpool?
Oh, yeah. That's a hard one.
You're going to say
Manchester.
Amsterdam, are you?
Yeah, yeah, Manchester. I'll go Manchester.
Kerry or Dublin?
Oh, Kerry.
Has to be.
Mm.
Brown or pink?
Brown or pink? I'm going to go with orange.
Spots or stripes?
Spots.
Gardening or the gym?
Gardening.
Echo and the Bunnymen or Boccherini?
I will say Boccherini.
Sun or moon?
Venus.
Emerald or ruby?
Emerald.
Silver or gold?
Silver.
Beer or wine?
Neither.
Meat or cheese?
Meat.